It's one of the fastest growing markets in the region, and that's what we do every day is just continue to try to provide strong, solid services and grow the business.
Welcome to another episode of the Community Broadband Bits podcast. I'm Christopher Mitchell at the Institute for Local Self-Reliance, and I'm recording on site where I'm checking to make sure my levels aren't peaking because we are here at the Gaylord Opryland. Is that right? Yeah. And I'm here with Christy Batts, who is the Chief Broadband Officer at Clarksville CDE, Clarksville Department of Energy, Electricity.
CDE Lightband.
CDE Lightband. Yes, so that's the broadband product, the fiber to the home product.
That's correct.
And you are a 3-show veteran, I think.
Yes, 3 shows.
Yes. So it's wonderful to have you again. And then you've brought with you today Amanda Cherry, who is the Customer Experience Supervisor for CDE Lightband.
Yes.
Wonderful. We are going to be talking about several different topics after we remind everyone what Clarksville's been up to for 15, 20 years now? 15 years? 17 years?
Right at 17 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's great. And how long have you been doing it?
I've been with them from the inception.
Okay.
So I was brought in day one for the build out.
Well, you weren't running it until 10 years ago, 15 was that?
I was there about a year.
Oh, okay.
And then took over running it.
Okay. Because I remember it had some problems, and then you took over, and then there were no more problems ever again.
Well, that's a nice way of saying yes. That's the pretty way of saying it.
I'm sure you're much more modest than that, though.
There were a lot of problems, but we worked our way through them with a lot of work from a lot of people, not just me.
Yes. So we're going to talk about an XGS conversion from active Ethernet. We're going to talk a little bit about undergrounding and new construction being underground. And then we're going to talk about training that y'all are doing. This is not the ordinary show. I've asked you we're going to go into the weeds a little bit of running a network, a mature network. And but before we do that, Clarksville's not your average town. You got the military base. It's like many cities is thriving right now. So just give us a little background on Clarksville for people who aren't familiar.
Sure. So yes, for those that haven't listened to me before, Clarksville is about 40 minutes to the north of Nashville, right on the Tennessee-Kentucky border. We're home to Fort Campbell. It's actually Fort Campbell, Kentucky, only because the senator years ago in the 40s lost the coin toss, and the Tennessee senator lost, and the post office was put on the Kentucky side because it borders both Tennessee and Kentucky. But it's home to the 101st Airborne Division and 5th Special Forces, and so we have a huge military population. Plus, we're also home to Austin Peay State University. It's one of the fastest growing universities in Tennessee. We're at a population of just at 12,000 students. When I went there was not that many students, and we're famous for having the best, most recognizable cheer of any university in the U.S. and by Sports Illustrated every year, and that is "Let's Go Peay."
All right.
We've been in the business with the electric company's been in the business for broadband since 2007. Went through all of our growing pains and challenges and stuff. We're pulling about a 35% penetration of the market today. It's one of the fastest growing markets in the region, and that's what we do every day is just continue to try to provide strong, solid services and grow the business. We average about 700 new customer installs a month. There's a lot of work that goes on behind making that happen, and has been consistent with that pretty much from the inception.
And you've had to deal with, because of the military base, you have to deal with a lot of starts and stops.
Yes, we do. It's a real high churn market. But to our credit, once we have them, unless they move out of the area for one reason or another, our retention levels are really nice. We're tracking a below 2% churn. So I'm pretty pleased with how that manages for us as well.
And then we talked in a previous show about something that one of the first things when I'm looking for examples of municipal broadband and how it can benefit the community, I almost always turn to Clarksville because you've done a really good job documenting how the revenues from telecom have helped to lower the energy bills with new substations and your whole new campus being rebuilt and not having to go to the debt market because of the cash from the telecom business.
Because of the funds that we generated, because the electric utility owns the fiber plant, so we lease that from them. So we provide them with right at about $9 million a year in revenues. And through that, over the years, they've been able to build 3 new substations, refurbish 2 substations, and build an $8 million campus improvement project for their main offices, all out of cash and not having to go to the bond market.
Yeah, that's wonderful. But now we're going to talk about the less fun things. So you built originally with Active Ethernet. And one of the things that I've always heard about building a network like that is you could always just switch in the future if you wanted to. And I feel like people would often say it that way. You could just switch. So you're going through a switch. And so I don't know if Amanda wants to go or if you want to lead into it, Christy. But why are you switching from Active Ethernet to XGS-PON?
Well, we actually wanted to have, the Active Ethernet systems are really fabulous systems. They're pretty scalable. You can do pretty much anything you want to them. But they're also very costly to maintain. It's a big plant. 37 different hub sites, all of those things that go along with it, multitudes of switches to serve the customers. So when we looked at the XGS-PON, it delivered what was my number one priority, multi-gig services. So we're now delivering 2.5 gig services, and we can do beyond that on a commercial basis, which I wanted to make sure we stayed consistent with. It's symmetrical, which is also one of my hot points. But it also allows us to consolidate the system down as we transition. So we're able to eliminate some hub sites, eliminate the footprint of switches, the multitude of things, the failure points, all of those things that you get efficiencies from an XGS-PON system. But it is challenging, and that's what Amanda and her teams deal with every day, is how we literally reinstall all 30,000 of our customers all over again. And so I'm going to toss it over to her and let her kind of talk about what they are challenged with on a daily basis.
Excellent. And I'll prompt you in a second. But for people who are XGS, what is all this? Like, we can just simplify it by saying the network had been one in which you had one fiber that went all the way from a person's home or a business back to a centralized type facility, one of these hub sites. And that fiber wasn't shared in any way. The way you architected it, you've got 37 different hub sites. XGS-PON generally, that you're using that where one fiber could be shared among multiple people and then split further closer to the home or the business. And that could just result in fewer hub sites and things like that to worry about. So if you're not super technical and you're confused, don't worry about it. But the stuff we're about to talk about is not for technical people as much.
Exactly. That's where I come into play.
So basically you come into work one day and you're told, hey, what if we switch out the equipment in 30,000 different locations?
Yes. And such a very small percentage of our customer base even understands what we're talking about when we call to try to explain why we need to come into their home and do all this extra work. So we really have to sell them on the benefits of future-proofing their internet, their home internet. It's going to change how they go into the future with us. Mm-hmm. But that is a challenge for my technical support staff. It's basically scheduling a brand new install where the customer has to be there because we're going to bring their outside equipment inside of their home. And that's going to probably require some drilling. So no one's really raising their hand and volunteering for that unless they really understand the business. So my team does a wonderful job at really leaning into the benefits and helping them understand that this is going to help them for generations down the road. Like, this is our future.
I have to assume, you might know the figures off the top of your head. Probably like more than 10% of people won't even answer the phone.
No, that's the hard part, is to get someone to, and also if you set up your electric with us, think about it, maybe 1 or 2 decades ago, you don't have your home phone anymore, and sometimes that's what we have on record. So getting in touch with them is one of our biggest barriers, honestly. Mm-hmm. We also do text message and emailing, so we tackle everything that we have for the customer, but getting in touch with them is the number one problem. But once we do get them on the phone, my staff is great at helping them understand that this is a benefit to them.
Is there anyone that's really excited and knows what you're talking about? Does that happen?
Know what? Yes, it does. Especially when we soft launched our 2.5 gig service. We thought it would make a small ripple in the pond, mm-hmm. and it did not. It was a huge ripple.
Okay, so I'm just trying to think of like what I've heard from other numbers. If you had more than 100 subscribers, I would be surprised.
For 2.5 gig?
Yeah.
What are we up to now? 300, I
300?
believe, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So no, 2.5 gig was huge. And honestly, a lot of people that changed over to 2.5 gig really wasn't sure that they needed it, but they wanted it because they
Sure.
wanted to have the newest, coolest thing. Of course, we're happy to provide that. That's what we're here for, to stay on the future.
When you for the older product line, the Active Ethernet, ActiveX. I've been thinking too much about the early days of the internet lately. When you were doing the Active Ethernet for those customers, did they often bring their own modem, or were you supplying that?
When we initially launched with ActiveE, it was 100% bring your own device. We didn't supply anything related to managed services or routers. Now we've gotten into that business, and since we've started the conversion, and even with the ActiveE, once we got into the business, more than 50% of our customers now are using our router, and it grows exponentially every month.
Right. I reflect a little bit, and I'm curious, if my friend Travis, who's on a lot of shows with us, who runs USI Fiber in Minneapolis, they basically require that you use their modem. And I wonder, you're delivering 2.5 gig. You want to make sure they're getting it because they're probably going to measure it. So you want your own gear. Is that pretty? So you said 50%, but is that an option still, or do people have to take your gear?
Actually, no. If it's the 1 gig or 2.5 gig, you're required to take our router because that's the first thing they're going to do is speed test that thing.
Right.
And if they've got their router
1 gig
they
switch
bought from the big box store, it's not gonna work. So we do require them for that. We do give them a little bit more flexibility if they choose to have their own router. But the way we've packaged our services now, and quite honestly, this is one of the things that Amanda brought to the table, was we price it out with here's the bandwidth you're choosing, here's the price. It includes our managed Wi-Fi and all the app functions. If you choose to use your own router, that's fine, but the price does not change. And it makes a huge difference in their adoption rate.
Right.
The customer education piece of a 2.5 gig customer is really crucial because they quite honestly don't understand that a lot of their home equipment does not get 2.5 gig. And their router, if they are insistent, no, my router is what I want to use, they don't understand that it only gets 1 gig. So there's a lot of customer education that goes into those 300 customers. And there's
Sure.
a lot of call-ins from them for us having to explain a little bit extra. But once they get the right equipment, especially if they're hardline, obviously it's not an option, but once they get the right equipment, it does work well for them. But there's a lot of education that goes on the front end of that.
Yeah, they could always just put their router downstream of yours too, and then you'll still know if they're having problems. You can say, we're testing the device right now, our device, and it's working just fine, right?
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I've gone through this as well because I'm looking at a new motherboard and trying to find one that's 10 gig and trying to find a switch in the house. That'll accommodate 10 gig and then I have to get a card from my network attached storage. It's a whole thing, and many families aren't going through that. So I'm curious then about the education process. Is that basically like a script that your customer service person reads, or how exactly does that work? And is it like a 5-minute conversation or a 10-minute? Like, how does it go?
Well, as far as sales on the front end goes, there is a loose script that our customer service representatives follow when they're going to sell those products to them.
Sorry, I meant for the transition is what I was thinking of. I keep going back and forth.
Oh, for sure. No,
Yeah.
Yes, for the conversion, we do have scripts. And of course, the conversation sometimes quite often leads off of that script because they have a lot of questions off of that. But yes, every representative have a script that they work off of. And then, of course, with our system, there's a lot of if this, then that's. And so you kind of have to tailor the conversation to the customer.
How many conversions have you done?
We're at 7,000, just over 7,000 right now.
And have you had to change the process along the way? Like, were there things you were doing that you had to change?
Absolutely. When we first started this process, we were doing, I don't know how far you want to get in the weeds with it, but where we were cutting a cable. And so the customers that we would cut for that day were dependent upon the cable that we were cutting. And since then we have switched that, and we found it's easier for us to cut them, put them on a splitter. It's a whole back end thing. But now we can treat it more like a true installation where the customer can pick from a wider array of dates, rather than us dictate the date that we're going to need to come into their home.
Yeah, I was curious about that because I assume you want to go neighborhood by neighborhood, and yet not everyone wants to be doing it, and so you're running parallel infrastructures. Do you still have people like in the area that you started who refuse to switch over, or have you been able to deal with them?
I mean, yes, don't you think? There's been a few that try to hold on to it, but we've made it very clear that eventually we're going to have to change this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and once we actually cut that cable over, we've run into a few things where we've reached out and we've contacted customers multiple times. We've knocked doors, we've door hung. We even went really old school, which was also Amanda's idea, but it works, with neighborhood signs that says, hey, we're coming. We're about to upgrade you. You need to be excited about this. Listen for that phone call or that email or whatever. And so that's helped a lot. But ultimately, when we're finished with that area and that fiber's done, if they didn't make the transition and then make room for us, we'll end up cutting them. And when they don't have services, they'll end up calling us.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a challenge. It's been much better than the first initial ones. We've had a lot fewer of those situations since we've developed a more cohesive way of doing it. And what Amanda was talking about was we put splitters in the system into the huts, and when the customer, we schedule their services to be cut over, say it's a street of 20 houses on that cable, we'll go in, and when all 20 of those are done, then we tell fiber, they're tied in, they're hooked into the splitter. Now you go cut from the splitter back to the main fiber, and you transition over, and then the customer goes down for a split second, they're back up.
Right. Just enough to unplug the port and plug it back in.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was curious. One of the things I've heard from folks was before XGS-PON, which you're moving to, is GPON. And GPON kind of locked you more into a vendor, I think, than XGS-PON does. Was that a part of your consideration? Was that as a passive optical networking has kind of been less locked in, that you feel more free to move to it, or?
I think what really sold us on the XGS-PON is back to what I said earlier.
37 locations.
Yes, condensing that down, and then also the ability to be able to maintain that symmetrical speed. And while GPON can do that, it's for me, especially since we're a very heavy enterprise level business, we wanted to make sure that we had what we could deliver. We've talked before about our services that we provide our school system. There's 47 different buildings within our school system, to include schools and admin and everything else. And we provide each one of those with a 10 gig connection, and then we pump a full 40 gigs symmetrical into their main office, and it filters out from there. So that scalability and that flexibility was what really finally sold us on. XGS makes sense past Active E. If you want to get out of that Active E and that heavy fiber maintenance, plant maintenance.
Right. And I'm curious about, we've talked before about how originally, we mentioned at the beginning of the show even a little bit of the challenges that were faced early on. I feel like you overcame it all. You're cash flow positive. You're paying off debts. And you were like, oh, what if we just had the massive expense of switching people over? How has that changed your finances?
We're still good.
Yeah.
I still have money. We're not to the point of, as my engineering team used to say, holding it together with spit and bubble gum. I don't tell them no anymore. But it is a challenge. It is a resource drain. It's a financial drain. But long term, it's definitely going to deliver for us in maintaining the system and giving the livelihood of the system and cutting back on other costs. Team player here, yes. It saves more money on the electric side of the house where they own the fiber, but I hope that eventually equates into lower rental rates too.
Sure. And then the last question is, what's the split that you're doing? How many people per fiber, or customers per fiber?
32.
You're doing 32? I'm so glad to hear that. I always cringe a little bit when someone's like 64, 128. I'm like, it's too many people.
Yeah, yeah, and we talked about as low as 16 at one point, but the 32 worked fine. We tested it out. It worked great, so we're fine with 32.
So from there, I wanted to ask about, going underground, because just before you came up, I was talking with some people and we were talking about the storms. You got hit really hard by a series of tornadoes a few years ago. And I'm curious, so much aerial plant. What is the plan moving forward?
Well, it definitely, all of our new construction in Clarksville is mandated by ordinance. Anything new constructed has to be underground. And so that's been a huge benefit for us because we are a heavy new construction market as well. You'd be surprised. I mean, we talk about some of our challenges on day to day. In the past year alone, we have pre-wired 6,000 doors for apartment complexes. It's a lot of work that goes into doing that. So taking that plant underground saves us in the long run. We did recently have a tornado in December of this year too that knocked out a significant part of our community, both electric and fiber plant. I mean, it was completely just gone. I mean, like nothing there.
Right. I mean, there's hundreds of tornadoes every year, but there's a few that are massively devastating.
Pretty devastating.
Right.
And, you know, we laugh a little bit with our counterparts on the electric side because, you know, on social media it's like power's out because of a tornado and then everything's destroyed and it's like, oh, linemen, thank you so much for, you know, working it through the storms and getting our power back. We really appreciate you. Please be safe out there. And 2 minutes after their power's back on, where the heck's my internet? So it's a challenge for us, and taking that stuff underground is important for us to be able to continue to do. And one of the things that we have as a part of our long-range strategic plan for the entire organization is to begin building out that underground plant throughout our more mature parts of the market that's been there for years. And so that's a plan that I hope that they'll be able to start on in the next couple of budget years. And then it'll take us a really long time, but eventually we'll have it all underground.
Do you hear other municipal electrics thinking about that also and executing on it?
I think so. I think most of them are really taking a hard look at that. I know our Kentucky systems have really, those to the north of us have really been hit quite a bit. We provide some internet backup for them, and we've been their only source of internet in some respects because the other providers have been damaged. So I know that a lot of them are looking at trying to take more of their plant underground as well.
Mm-hmm. All right, and then we wanted to talk about training, and in particular, because everyone's talking about AI, we're going to talk about AI too, and cool things that are going on with AI. But let me start by asking Amanda. One of the things that I've been doing lately is just asking all of the people that you work with, did they fall into telecom work by accident, or did they deliberately try to get into telecom?
For me, in my staffing right now, I think that they were going to work in a call center and they happened upon the rest of it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I find that it's true for outside plant people. It's true for almost everyone. I feel like there's no one that, and we're trying to change this, but I feel like no one turns 18 and they're thinking about their future and they're like, you know what? Telecom.
Well, now I will say with Austin P being so close, it's literally 2 blocks up from our network operations. We do have, I have 3 right now that are technical support representatives, but they're also in school for networking. Mm-hmm. So they hope to be employees long term in another department, but they're starting out with me to get their feet in the door. Yeah. Yeah,
this is where I feel like no matter what department you're in, aside from some of the supervisory and whatnot, there's a lot of on-the-job training. Some of us that supervise also feel like that's on-the-job training, I guess. But it feels like this line of work, working in utility, there's a lot of on-the-job training.
100%. Well, Christy can attest to that with me. I came from marketing, so you know she can absolutely attest to how she got me, and that's a lot of on-the-job training. So yes, absolutely.
So how are you doing training now with artificial intelligence?
Well, I can tell you where we're at now is we're starting to look at it for models that will be used in real time. So whereas now if one of my newer representatives has a situation come up that they've not had a lot of exposure to, they're going to have to turn around and go find a more senior representative to help them with that. So where we're hoping we're heading and where we're laying the groundwork for right now is where there's going to be an AI model on their computer that they can type those questions into, and it'll be as if a senior is sitting right next to them and answering those questions along with them. We're in the early stages of that, and Christy's laying a lot of the work as well to get us there.
Well, yeah, I mean, certainly it's a lot of building that information base. I mean, we've got it, and we have it. A lot of our training ends up being, you know, printouts and folders and notebooks and that person standing in front of them and saying, if this happens, do this, or if that happens. But you can only train for, and you only have the time to train for what happens 99% of the time. It's the other 1 to 2% of the time that doesn't normally happen with a customer that's difficult. And if you've got that non-senior or seasoned TSR on the phone at 9 o'clock at night, then your response time for that customer is delayed because they're going to put that customer on hold and call the on-call lead and ask them, hey, what do I do with this? And then it's going to be what. So you don't want to do that. You want to be able that first call resolution, get it done as fast as possible. And so that's what we're building. We're taking that knowledge base of those senior level people that are seasoned and know every aspect of everything, and building that into that AI database so that these less seasoned folks have that resource to them. And it's not a phone call, but it's a type of question in.
Are you working with a contractor that does this sort of thing? Are you figuring it out yourself as you go along?
We actually have an in-house person who has just embraced the AI technology. He's our database analyst, but he also loves the whole concept behind the AI technology. So he's actually working with us to build all of those models. So we feel pretty safe and secure that our person's watching what we need to do, and it's not going out there doing this global search of things. It's building our own models there, and so that feels good for us, because AI can be a little scary if you're getting into it.
Yeah, very much so, especially because, and Amanda, like, you could tell me if I'm wrong, but like, I assume, as you rely on it more and more, it's like, oh, we got 90 out of 100 right. Well, that means 10 potential bad reviews. That's horrific. It really has to be right on, right?
And the security layer too of that is, how much of your network are you willing to put out on an AI platform? So we're happy to have somebody in-house to help us stay secure with what we're putting out there too.
What do you think the timing is in terms of being able to start testing it and deploying it? Is this something that you're going to be able to, start rolling it out slowly? And
well, we're working on this, uploading our data right now into the AI model. So I would hope that we're within 6 months of hopefully early testing of it. Yeah.
Do you have to do a whole lot of extra work to create the data for the model then?
A little bit. Yeah, you do. You have to kind of take your training models. We're fortunate enough we have paper sometimes that we still use. So we took literally our paper binders, but then you have to strip that down and put that into the AI language. So there is a little bit of front end work to get that done.
It's going to be interesting. And I hope that you're going to have like a little like internal list of hilarious responses.
We could screenshot those and share those later on. Absolutely.
What else do you do in terms of training? Because these are the people that are representing you to the public.
Yes.
So aside from AI, what do you do to train people and before you trust them to talk to your customers?
Yeah. Well, I'm very fortunate enough to have a trainer in the department she's been with us now for, I want to say, 8 years, Jasmine. So she's our head trainer, and she works with the new employee around 6 to 8 weeks before they ever see the floor where the phones are. And it's just different. If you get somebody that's going to Austin P for networking, they have a leg up on someone who thinks that they're coming into a call center, right? So it just depends on the person, and we try to keep our training classes very small so that the learning is tailored to them. But they have to first learn a whole network and then learn the call center's way of life. So it's a lot, but I have a great trainer, so I've gotten lucky in that aspect.
Do you and you can say no comment and giggle, but do you have a list of like hilarious interactions with customers or things like that?
We could share stories.
Oh, we could definitely share stories. But my favorite is when we first launched chat. One of our technical support reps was chatting with the customer. Everything was going great, and apparently the customer got a little testy in their comments back, and her response back to him in a chat was, "LOL, why you so rude?" So we do still use that around the office sometimes with when we go, someone says something testy in a meeting, we go, "LOL, why you so rude?"
Excellent. Anything else that we should touch on? I think it's a really great window into what it takes for just one side of this to keep the network working and people happy.
Yeah, that's the key. We set standards of what we want our TSRs and our engineering teams to deliver. Amanda really pushes her folks to be first call resolution, so we try to resolve it without rolling a truck. If we roll a truck, we try to make sure that it's resolved with the first visit. And then our engineering team, if a switch or a portion of the network happens to go down, we have standards we try to have that resolved within an hour. So we try to minimize that downtime, which in turn minimizes phone calls and helps with all the other aspects. Because, we've talked a lot about the XGS conversions, but at the same time that all of those same people are working, scheduling all those customers for those XGS conversions, they're also managing the influx of about 700 new customer connects a month on top of that, plus any service calls that may come in. And so there's a lot flowing through that office at any given point.
And we didn't really talk about this, but meanwhile, all of your people that have been there for all this time, you're about to have a whole new system.
Yes.
So that's fun.
Yes, and they've embraced the technology. They've really done very well with it, but it's a bit of a challenge. When you look at it and they're like, wait a minute, we don't do it that way anymore. We have to do it this way, and we've had a few hiccups with that, but it's because we're dealing with people.
That's right. Yeah, there was something that the Tribal Broadband boot camps, I think is where it came up several times, which the technology is easy, the people are hard.
Yes.
So, well, thank you so much, Christy and Amanda. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you.
We have transcripts for this and other podcasts available at communitynets.org/broadbandbits. Email us at podcast@muninetworks.org with your ideas for the show. Follow Chris on Twitter. His handle is @CommunityNets. Follow CommunityNets.org stories on Twitter. The handle's @MuniNetworks. Subscribe to this and other podcasts from ILSR, including Building Local Power, Local Energy Rules, and the Composting for Community podcast. You can access them anywhere you get your podcasts. You can catch the latest important research from all of our initiatives if you subscribe to our monthly newsletter at ilsr.org. While you're there, please take a moment to donate. Your support in any amount keeps us going. Thank you to Arnie Huseby for the song Warm Duck Shuffle, licensed through Creative Commons.